Tell me when we're live because I'm going to share it around so everyone tunes in.
We're live.
We're live.
We're
Are
live.
we live?
We
Yes.
are live. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
start. I'm going to start sharing.
We'll assume that means that she's going to share some stuff.
Yeah, her internet sucks. Oh, yeah, we are live. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to share it here. I'm going to share it into the group. And then maybe we'll just share it right onto the page, too.
Sounds good.
Everywhere.
Let's just share it all over and get everyone tuning in. Okay.
Everyone, this is Tracy. Tracy, this is everyone.
That's not at all how you introduce me now, is it?
Yeah. That's a joke.
You got to do the thing.
And welcome back to the show, Tracy Wilson from the CCFR. Tracy, good to have you again.
Well, thank you very
How's that?
much. It's a pleasure to
Good
be
enough?
here. Well,
And you got to do the Wilson. You got to do the
Yes!
Wilson.
People usually yell at me.
I can yell. Anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about this, how the CCFR's court case is going? I've been catching some of your live tweets, but there's been so many. You've been doing such a good job of covering it that I can't keep up with everything that's been going on.
Yeah, on Twitter, they're calling me Thunder Thumbs Wilson,
Thunder
which
Thumbs.
is hilarious. Yeah, I know. I was telling Rod, and he's like, Thunder, what? I don't know about that. And I'm like, no, it's good. But it should actually be Lightning Thumbs. So, yes, tomorrow will be the final day of our 8-day court hearing against the May 2020 OIC gun ban here in Ottawa. It is being heard in the federal court in the Supreme Court building. So it's been kind of cool going there every day. Of course, it is a rule of the federal court that you cannot record or broadcast it. So unfortunately, basically the only tangible real-time record that we can have are my live tweets. We are going to be putting those into a web story that'll just sort of be a quick and easy read. People can read through, break it down day by day. But yeah, this is it. This is what we've spent, 2.5 years working towards, over $2 million invested. And it all finishes off tomorrow with closing statements. So yeah, it's been a heck of a battle.
Yeah, I think one of the things that maybe we're all wondering is, okay, so court the day before our judges right now, everything seems to be going really well. Some interesting things being said. What are some of the highlights of the week that we've been presenting, I guess?
Yeah, that's really good. Well, as you know, for the first 5 days, it was the applicant's legal team speaking. And everybody's thinking like, wow, it's going really well. You can find the link to watch the web stream on the ccfr.ca. Tomorrow is the last day, but in any event. So people have been watching along in the first 5 days. Of course, it goes really well. Those are the applicants' legal teams, our side, so to speak, of the debate. So I kept warning people, the government hasn't had an opportunity to speak yet. So stay tuned. And of course, yesterday and today, they did exactly that, said all kinds of crazy, untrue, demonstrably false things. There's a couple of weird things that happened. I'll tell you a little story. I often, when I'm doing media interviews, I talk about the social contract that gun owners have with the government. And how I think of it, or how I've always thought of it as a gun owner myself, is, the government lays out 32 years of various forms of gun control. We've got licensing, we've got storage regulations, transport regulations, all these rules that we've got to follow. We've got the daily background checks. So we do all that. We comply with it, regardless of how ridiculous it is, regardless of whether or not there's any efficacy towards public safety. We do all that with the, for me, it was with the implication that the government would more or less leave me alone and stay out of my life. Well, we know that's not true anymore, right? So I often talk about how they've broken that social contract. So Solomon Friedman, who's the lawyer in the Parker versus Canada case, which is, they're all put under case management under our case, but they're on our side. Saul was talking to the judge and explaining it, and he called it a bargain. So same kind of idea, but he says, this is the bargain that gun owners have with the government, that they follow all these rules, and in turn they have their stuff. And now you've changed that by banning their stuff. And when the government lawyer when the government's legal team got up to respond, he was like almost offended that he even thought that. And he stood up and he goes, "There is no bargain. There's no deal with gun owners." And I'm sitting in the courtroom and it was just so spiteful the way he said it and so ignorant that, I kind of dropped my glasses down on my nose and looked up under them at him. And I just thought, like, you people, like, you're talking about human beings. You're talking about co-Canadians. And now I have to question everything I've ever believed in my relationship with the government. I'm not a very pro-government person, but I believed in some sort of framework for our society. And now it's like, doesn't matter what you do, how many laws you comply with, it's irrelevant. We'll do whatever we want to you. And for me, that's a problem. I think that should be a problem for most people. So, yeah, that was something that interesting that happened. And then another cool thing I like to talk about is the size of the legal teams. So, we are in the Supreme Court. One side of the courtroom is all the legal teams. So, there's 6 teams. Some of them are big. Our team's probably the biggest, and then we've got some smaller teams and some single lawyers. So they're crammed onto one side, and the government's team of lawyers, about 21 of them, are crammed onto the other side. And originally, so it's like a David and Goliath, right? It's like 6 little Davids and a giant Goliath. And it was funny because all along they've had 3 chairs per table. And then as of yesterday, when the government got their opportunity to speak, they crammed 4 chairs in. So they've like increased the size of their team. So, anyways, people are asking me, well, what are they like? And I'm like, well, exactly what you would think of when you think of government lawyers. Like whatever is conjured up in your mind, it's exactly like that. So today we on one of the breaks, I think it was the final break, or it was possibly maybe the end of the day. Yeah, I think it was the end of the day. I went to go use the washroom before we left the building, and all the government's lawyers were getting together for some kind of group picture. And, I'm kind of giggling like, oh, there they all are, the people trying to ruin our lives, right? I go in and I use the washroom and I come out and they had moved where they were taking the photo. So now they're all lined up in front of the stairs that I've got to go up to get out of the bathroom. So here I am totally photobombing their picture, right? It's like the government's entire legal team and my little head there. So yeah, I don't think they like me very much.
Well, if they want to take up the whole staircase like a bunch of TikTokers, then that's their own problem. You
know.
got places to be.
Yeah, man, I got things to do. I'm an important person. Get out of the way. No, I'm just kidding. But I totally photobombed them. I was like, I'm not missing this opportunity. So yeah, but all in all, I mean, I think it's going well. There's been a lot of arguments. The case itself is actually very complex. There's about 7 parts to ours. Like we've got some charter stuff. We've got some stuff about some delegation of duty, where the RCMP were just making these changes in the FRT, reclassifying things even after the OIC. There's a lot of parts to it. So, when people say, well, do you think we'll win? Well, I think there are some stuff we'll win on and maybe some stuff we won't. It's hard to say. There's no way to really know. And of course, it will take months to get a decision. But I think the lawyers have done an incredible job. Our team has just been nailing it. And for the most part, everyone works really well together. Like 5 of the 6 teams, we're kind of meeting electronically tonight to sort out who's going to do what. We have half a day for everybody. So it works out to about 20 to 25 minutes to respond to 2 days of testimony by the government per team. So you don't want to repeat things. You don't want, 2 different legal teams on the same side arguing the same thing. We don't have time for it. So everyone's going to take a section and focus on that. So it's really nice to see the teams working together. And yeah, I guess we'll have to take it from there and see what happens. But yeah, it's just been crazy.
That's one thing I wanted to ask is how long you get to respond to the 2 days of their stuff.
25 minutes.
25 minutes.
Now
it might be enough.
Well, and here's the thing. For the most part, our teams already knew what they were going to argue. You'll notice in that 5 days that all the teams had, they covered a lot of stuff, and that was sort of preemptively addressing what they knew the government would address, right? So there's some of that. They introduced a couple new things, so they'll definitely make sure that they address those. But at the end of the day, that's what we see when you're watching the live stream isn't the only thing the judge has to base her decision on, right? She's probably got 5 stacks of paper this big to read through. She's got case law to refer to. Like, that's why it takes months to get a decision. She's got to go and comb over every single thing that was said, every reference that was made. It's a huge job. Now, the judge herself has said a couple of strange things. For the most part, I think she's asked some pretty thoughtful questions. She hasn't asked a lot of questions. So either that means the legal teams are doing a really good job of explaining things, or, maybe she's just glassed over like most people trying to figure out what they're talking about. But she said a couple weird things. Like the other day, last week, they were talking about the scientific evidence that proves that banning, certain guns is not going to reduce the possibility of mass shootings, homicides, suicides, any of that, right? And we have evidence towards that. So we were talking about that, and she kind of came out and said, well, so what do we do? Just wait for another mass shooting? And, the hair on the back of my neck rises up, and I'm like, "What?" Because by saying that, you're implying that a gun ban is the solution to reduce mass shootings, homicides, or suicides, right? And unfortunately, that's a common way of thinking for a lot of Canadians, although it's not true. However, she's a federal court judge hearing a really important case. So, I think she'd be a little more objective. And then today they were addressing part of Rod Giltaca's affidavit. And yeah, we broached the subject of self-defense. I know it's a little taboo for many people, but we think it's a valid point. And despite what a lot of people will tell you, Canadians absolutely have the right to defend their lives with guns or any other means possible. So Rod had brought some of that up in his affidavit, and she sort of scoffed at it and said they were talking about during his cross-examination before the trial. And she said, well, during that cross-examination, did anyone tell him that he can't just shoot somebody who knocks at the door? And I was like, yeah,
that was.
it's frustrating. I don't know if she was, making a joke. Christine Genereux told me there was some news story this morning out of the States where a guy did that. So maybe it was like a joke in reference to that. But yeah, we don't think any of this is funny. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what was going through her mind, but at the end of the day, I'd like to have a little faith in the system, regardless of how it's been. And yeah, she's got a lot to think over, but we'll see what happens.
Could have been a reference to the U.S. That's happened 3 times over the last couple of days here. So, but it's still not a great joke, and it kind of talks to this preconceived notion that the thing that's causing the U.S. to have all this violence that Canada is not seeing is our gun laws and not theirs, and that might not be the case. It's more than likely some sort of cultural thing that's different with the U.S. compared to Canada. Yeah,
absolutely. So she's been pretty fair through the entire trial, other than those couple of little things. And I mean, anybody watching this or who knows me or ever spent time with me knows I also say inappropriate things sometimes. So, she is a human at the end of the day. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's been a real experience. All those tweets, I know there's a lot of people who maybe aren't on Twitter or who aren't familiar with Twitter, because it is very hard to follow threads of that size, like tweet threads, if you're not familiar with how they work. So what we're doing right now is we're sort of transcribing that all into just text, and we're going to host it on the website as sort of like a web story. And the transcripts will be out eventually, but to be perfectly honest, it's going to be a lot of lawyer talk that'll be a very difficult read. So it'll be a little bit easier of a read. Of course, you're reading it through the lens that I'm transcribing it, but yeah, we're going to host that on the website. So people who aren't on Twitter or who don't want to try and fool around with the thread and figure it out, they'll be able to follow it day by day, see what happened. And yeah, we'll have a little bit of time because we got probably a couple months to wait for a decision.
yeah, I guess that's one of the other things we'd like to cover today is just what's the next step. So we're arguing today, arguing tomorrow, and then
Yeah, well,
wait 2 months.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
She's so tomorrow the teams will kind of do their last little rebuttal. It's
Mhm.
supposed to stay very targeted to legal arguments against what was said by the government's legal team. There's always a little bit of leeway for Christine Genereux because she's the self rep. I'll take a minute and give her a massive shout out. She has been absolutely nailing it. She's not a lawyer, and you almost wouldn't know it from listening to her. So she's just absolutely nailing it and doing it all on her own without any help and just rocking it. So, yeah, she's got cojones, so she's doing
She's
great.
well prepared too. You can tell
Yeah.
she put the time in,
She's
right?
she's living and breathing this, and it's just been
Mm.
all consuming, and I understand how that happens in your life. So big shout out to her. We've spent the last 2 weeks sitting together. Yeah, so everyone will argue. The 5 out of the 6 teams will argue tomorrow. Ed Berlew for the Hipwell team has sort of been functioning on his own without participating in the group. So that's okay. He went today and did his own stuff. Everyone else will go tomorrow, kind of in a team environment. And I miss you too, Trevor, for a lot. And yeah, we'll listen to that. We'll see what happens. I don't know if there's any kind of formal process to adjourning the final bit of the hearing, but that's it. And she's going to go away and she's going to lock herself down and work on this case. And anywhere from 2 to 6 months before we receive a decision. Sorry, I've been talking so much. I'm hoarse. One last interesting part that I want to tell you guys about, Barrett, was at the very end of court today. I don't know if anyone watching the live stream caught it, but McKinnon from the government lawyer's side, it was over. We were like adjourning, and he's like, "Oh, one more thing," and he got up and he asked the judge about when she's got a decision, if it's not in their favor, will he have an opportunity to do any more submissions or to reply to it? And she's like, "Well, why would you do that?" And he's like, "Well, because there can be, precedents that's set with this case that could have a domino effect on other things." So I'm listening intently, like, what is he talking about? And we talked about it afterwards with some of the lawyers. And what he's talking about is, should we win and have a favorable decision for us on deeming this OIC invalid, void, and reversing it, it could also have case law precedents for other gun bans that were previously done by OIC, such as the full auto ban, such as many other things. So, such as the handgun freeze, such as all kinds of other things, right? So, yeah, so he's very concerned about that, which leads me to believe that he's not super confident that the government's going to win, which is pretty much where we've been at since it started. I don't want to be overly confident or say something that may turn out to be wrong down the road, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned that there was 7 parts or 7 pieces to the case that the CCFR is bringing in. What are some of the potentials of some of those options? So there's probably some really good ones in there. There's probably some like small wins in there. What are some of the potential results, I guess, that you're feeling good about here?
Well, I mean, there's some big things in there that could directly overturn the OIC, deem it void, and we go back to using our AR-15s and all our other stuff. Then there's some smaller things like the argument about subdelegation and stuff like that. What that's about is the variance. So when the government did the May 2020 OIC, there was a whole bunch of firearms listed within the OIC. Those are the named guns or the named variants, the 9 heads of families of guns, and then the named variants underneath them. Well, we all know that ever since the OIC, there's been a number of firearms that were added to the ban through FRT changes that reclassified them. So they were done later, months after the OIC, as unnamed variants. And the problem with that is the only person that has the authority to prescribe a firearm as prohibited is the GIC, the governor and council. The RCMP, whether it's Murray Smith or anybody else at the SFSS, do not have the authority to do that. Well, if they meant those guns to be banned in the 2020 OIC, why were they not named? So they're saying they're the unnamed variants. They're variants of variants is what they are. So they're saying a variant of a variant is a variant and should be banned. So a win on that subdelegation would mean that the RCMP did not have the ability to change the FRT classification even after the OIC for stuff that wasn't named within it. So at least we could get those back, which would be a big win for stuff like ATRS or whatever, right? So yeah, so there's a bunch of different moving parts all within there that could mean different things, but ultimately, like I want it all. I want the OIC reversed, overturned, and I mean, at the end of the day, if this government wins another mandate, it doesn't mean they won't try this again, but they'll be forced to do it properly through legislation, and then we'll have to fight it that way. They won't stop coming, but we won't stop fighting them.
Good.
Yeah.
I'd like to crack my ARs out again.
Yeah, me too. It'd be pretty cool. It'd be pretty
Cool to look at, but they're cooler to shoot.
Yeah, they are. Well, they're a lot of fun. And to be honest, like ever since the gun ban, I mean, I do a lot of events at ranges and, go to ladies' days and, appearances at events. But to be perfectly honest, I don't even think I've gone to the range, like to actually just hang out and shoot since the gun ban. So yeah, I've got a bunch of handguns here that I bought in the big run on guns that I've never even opened, never even loaded them. Haven't even looked at them. So yeah.
Just got to get a big win, and then you can get out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then we're going all out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep at it. We promised gun owners that we would do everything. We'd leave no stone unturned, no avenue unexplored, and we meant it. So we're going to keep at it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Kyle, I think you had some questions from Discord, right?
Yeah, on our Discord group there, I had reached out for some questions. Some of them you've answered. But I think this one's a pretty general one. We'll start with if we get a ruling in our favor, what happens next?
Well, again, it depends on which part she rules on, right? I mean, technically, the way it should go is she should make a ruling, whether we win, we lose, what parts, and that's it. If the OIC is deemed invalid and void, it should be reversed. There are some court tricks that can be played, such as suspending a verdict. She could rule that we win, but suspend it, which means basically put it on hold. But we don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know, and until she comes back with a decision, then we'll move from there. But should we not be successful, if we don't win, then we'll absolutely be going to appeals court and hopefully from there to the Supreme Court. So yeah, we're this far in. You can't stop now. So
No.
Yeah.
This next one you answered right away. It could take as long as 6 months to reach a verdict.
Yeah. I think the average is 3 months. So it takes a little bit of time, but
And that's fair.
Yeah,
There's a
we've
lot
got
of stuff to go through.
yeah, it's a lot.
Actually, I think this next question is really good considering the compressed timeline for how much she has to take in. Do you get the sense that the judge understood the crash course of firearms law that she was put through last week? And then I'm going to add to that with the government spreading their BS trying to dismantle that.
I think she took in both sides, and I don't think it was enough. No. However, she does have all of that material to go back to and reference, right? Like what we saw over the 8 days of trial is not all she's got. And every time they quoted case law or referred to the Firearms Act or the criminal code, like she has the ability and the staff to go back through all of that. Probably by the end of it, she'll be an expert, right? But yeah, like it will take months for her to work her way through everything that she just heard. That's That's kind of why the decisions take a really long time. But yeah, I think it's definitely understands more than the average Canadian for sure.
Yeah. Ed maybe knows enough now that she's confused, so now she wants to just know.
Well, that's part of our argument is the vagueness of the OIC and the term variant, right? It's a problem. Like a
Yeah.
variant can be anything, right? So, and I mean classifying guns based on how they look, and there's a few things that she really did question. Even today, the government lawyer was trying to dismiss the impact of this. There's probably only about 150,000 Canadians that are impacted by this. So, it's only whatever percent of Canada. And it's sort of like, oh, so because we're a small minority group, it's okay to stomp on us, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so she asked him, well, should we be concerned about the individual impact on each person? And I thought that's kind of thoughtful, right? Like, don't lump us all together. We're all individual people. And at the same time, it could, like, maybe some people don't really care that their AR-15 was banned, and other people, hanging on by their nails, praying to God that we get a win, right? Like, everybody reacts differently. And he was like, well, no, that shouldn't really be our concern. They're exactly
Yeah.
what you would think of when you think of government lawyers. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting behind them, but I'm envisioning their faces with like, gnarly teeth and like they look like jack-o'-lanterns to me, right? But yeah.
Yeah, it's been a tough listen and watch.
Yeah.
I've been trying to while I was at work and getting most of it, but yeah, it was the last couple of days have been tough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very difficult for me because I have such a big mouth to not shout out, right? When he's saying something, I would be like, that's not true. No way,
Yeah.
you liar. But
Yeah.
yeah, all I can do is just tweet faster, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's going to be, I think, a hard one to answer, but which way does it seem that the judge is leaning?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell, right? I get positive vibes, and then she says crazy stuff about Rod, shooting people through a door or something, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So it's hard to say,
Yeah.
but I think she's a reasonable woman. She's incredibly smart. I think she's definitely got some concerns about the method the government used to do this. Of course, had they chosen to do it through legislation, they would have had a difficult time, and it takes a long time. The government told her that the reason they used an OIC was number one, to surprise us, excuse me, to avoid a run on guns, like what happened with handguns. And number two, because of like the imminent severe danger to public safety of us having these guns. That's why it had to be done right away. They couldn't wait for legislation to pass. But here we are 3 years later, and I'm still sitting here with a safes full of AR-15s. So which is it?
Yeah, the imminent threat was clearly not there. So
I love
it.
Right?
Yeah, I love the point that criminals will just break laws. They just broke these laws, so that's why we need to enact these laws to help battle that.
Yeah. Well, and he said too, we shouldn't draw too fine of a line between legal, legitimate, lawful gun owners and criminals who use guns. And I'm like, no, we should draw a very definitive line right there because we are not the same people, right?
No.
Yeah.
And, he mentioned a 42% increase in violent gun crime, since 2015. And it's like, oh, so you're attributing that to legal gun owners. Nothing else happened in 2015 forward that could have attributed to that, right? Nothing. Not like the prime minister, the leadership, the soft on crime policies, bail
reform, reform, all like in Edmonton here. Our chief of police was saying that 40% of like recent violent crimes have been committed by people who were on release.
Yeah.
It's just
crazy.
Yeah.
I read something about that. I think the same 40 people too have committed like 6,000 crimes or something.
Jeez.
Frequent flyers.
Yeah.
So,
I do have a pretty positive feeling about it. We've got some really solid arguments. And to be honest, a lot of the administrative law points are probably where we've got the win. I know that's the less fun stuff for gun owners who've been following along. But that's where the really technical legal arguments are. There's certain things the government can do and certain things they can't. There are built-in restraints into the law to control government. They've blown those all to hell. So, yeah, I have a good feeling about it. I'm going to stay positive and wait for her decision and have some faith in the system. But regardless, even if we don't win, well, we'll appeal it. And we'll keep going. So it is what it is. I just don't want to live tweet anymore, Court, for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. We only have a couple more questions here. Somebody wanted to know how you felt about Berlot's performance.
He did a lot better today than I think he did before. I mean, he was a little bit scattered, and it's very difficult, right? He's also tuning in remotely. So he did not join us in court since the original submissions. So he hasn't been there for, I guess, probably 4 days or so. So today he made a couple of great points. There was some stuff he said the other day during submissions that I found, a little concerning a bit. I mean, we are running a court case for the CCFR and for all gun owners in Canada. And I understand that not every party in this is doing the same thing. Some people have certain clients that they're working for, and that's it. But he argued against subdelegation. He said there's no subdelegation here, which is kind of a big part of the case, right? So he sided with the Liberal lawyers on that. He may have some reasons that I'm not aware of, but regardless. And then he spoke about permissive grandfathering. And, I different people feel different ways about it. I personally don't advocate for grandfathering because I feel like it's just a delayed confiscation.
Mhm.
And I think that the thing that should allow you to own guns, enjoy your sport, enjoy your lifestyle is your license, right? Like I don't want to draw too fine of a point on what you can do and can't do. I think the system that we had worked, for the most part, really well. So yeah, he had a couple of strange arguments, but yeah, like I said, we're doing the best we can with the team we've got, and our team is working really well with the other teams. So we're just going to focus on that.
Good.
Yeah.
One last one about Berlot, and I think you answered this earlier, but did Berlot coordinate with the other cases?
No, I don't believe so. No. I think he's running his own stuff, right? And I mean that he's totally entitled to do that. We were all rolled together into case management, and all that means basically is instead of the judge hearing 6 individual cases with the government lawyers, they run them all at the same time. So
Yeah.
you're running together as far as the timeline goes, but you don't necessarily have to run your cases together like a team, right? So yeah, I mean, he's trying different stuff than we are, so that's okay.
Yep. That makes sense.
You can ask my question there.
Yeah, I'm going to ask your question. Is Polly going to get a government-funded label on their Twitter?
If I was in charge of it, oh yes. Well, they wouldn't be able to. Yeah.
Got to ask those hard-hitting questions, right?
Well, it's very difficult because, of course, they don't talk about their funding sources, but that's always been my 100-day promise under a friendly conservative government is I would, that's kind of one of my demands of the conservatives. If and when they win, which they will win eventually, this government's not going to stay in power forever. But I want that. I want some staff. I want to sit in the Library of Parliament. I want to go through every single thing we can get our mitts on because I know a lot of funding is hidden and run through different departments. So it's hard to ATIP and hard to find. But I want to identify it, find it, isolate it, and reroute it to community programs and at-risk youth programs and actual things that are going to have a positive effect on public safety. So yeah, I'm all about the defund, Polly. Yep.
Good.
100%.
One final thing, it's not a question, but this was the general feeling all over the Discord server. Everyone appreciates the constant live tweets and feel that you did a great job.
Well, thank you. I know sometimes it's with some of the people, it's very difficult. In fact, with our lawyers, it's probably the hardest to live tweet because there's speaking in lawyer talk, right? And I'm not a lawyer. So I'm trying to understand what it is they just said and then change it into words that I could pronounce and spell and send it out into the Twitterverse, right? And condense this much talking into this big of a tweet. So sometimes it was a little difficult, and maybe not entirely accurate, but yeah, it's the best I could do because there's no do-overs, right? Once they move on to the next sentence, you got to keep up with them. So yeah, I appreciate everybody checking it out. And like I said, we'll get that up on ccfr.ca for those of you who aren't in the Twitterverse. And it'll be a lot easier to read than transcripts. I guarantee that. But once those are available, which we will pay to have those done as well, and those will be found on propertyjustice.ca. And that's where all the legal stuff is kept. So I know that's a bunch of websites to throw at you, but propertyjustice.ca is where all the legal documents, like this is not our court challenge, this is your court challenge. It's the members and supporters and everybody who supported it and paid for it. It all belongs to you. So we've published everything and put it out there. That's where you'll find the official transcript. There will be no recording. Unfortunately, it's against the law. And then the Tracy version, which will be a lot easier of a read, will be available on ccfr.ca probably tomorrow, because we're almost done kind of transcribing it from tweets into a web story. And we'll have it separated by day and topic, so you'll know which parts to read and be able to reference it. And tomorrow morning, that's it. We're done with court. So yeah, that should hopefully be up tomorrow, and if not, by Monday. Yeah.
Cool. That'll be easier to read through than trying to get through Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. It's very difficult to read it through Twitter, and it's, at least it's in a form of language that the average Joe like me could understand, right? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Any other questions from any of the other hosts?
Obviously the donations are super important to keep this going. You guys received a pretty sizable one recently.
Yeah.
Do you want to give them a shout out? Because I think
I do. Yeah, that was crazy. So that is the single largest donation that we've received in history. We received $100,000 donation yesterday from the Calgary and District Target Shooters Association, CDTSA. So that's like almost unbelievably generous. Like Rod sent me a screenshot by text, and I was like, how you take a picture on your phone and spread it. And I'm like, what? No, that's got to be a typo. Like, there's no way. And sure enough, no, it's real. And that is incredibly helpful. I know it sucks to always have to, throw money. We're always asking for money, and I get it. It does suck. But we also have to remember that the government is fighting us with an unlimited amount of our own tax
dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys are funding, the smaller leaguer teams who are all working together to fight against this gun ban and fight for all of us. But on the other side, they've got probably 21 lawyers who are all funded by your taxes. And yeah, they've got some of the best lawyers there are. So yeah, we'll put that to good use for sure. And even just having our legal team here from Alberta for the almost 2 weeks, it's like you're paying everybody's fees and travel, and it's probably going to be, I don't even know how to guess that, but the trial probably about $150,000. That's probably what we're spending. So yeah, it's a lot of money. We've spent well over $2 million already. So yeah, that's why we just have to keep going at this point. It's like that car that you spent, $30,000 in repairs, but you're not sure. What do? Do you just keep fixing it? Yes, that's what you do. So that's where we're at. We're going to keep going. They're doing an incredible job. And yeah, I haven't been fraternizing with them too much, but today, after listening to the end of the government lawyers talk, it was like, hey, do you guys want to go for a drink? Like, I think we need a drink, right? Yeah. So we went and had a beer on Spark Street, and it was just nice to get out of the courtroom and have some conversation. And yeah, we only had one because they got to prep for tomorrow. They had a big day tomorrow, and yeah, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, just I appreciate everyone's support. And unfortunately, money does make this machine move. There's no way to do this without funding, and this is the only way we can get it. So,
For
yeah.
sure. Well, we all appreciate the effort in the lightning thumbs and from the lawyers, and very much appreciate you coming on to tell all of our listeners and viewers and a lot of the people from the CCFR who are tuning in right now to just give us a quick update on how it's going. It's very much appreciated.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. You know, everyone is following my Twitter, including the government lawyers. I can see McKinnon looking at my feed because I sit behind him a couple rows, and yeah, everybody's watching it. So I see them seeing me. I see you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on again, Tracy.
All right, guys. It was really good to see you, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Tracy.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
You.
Bye, Wilson.
Welcome to Slamfire Radio, episode 503, recording live on Wednesday, April 19th. I'm one of your hosts, Mo.
That's Kelly. She's muted. So, and that's Adriel. He's also muted.
What's happening here?
And I'm Kyle.
Kelly, unmute yourself. I did me too.
Do you want me to start over?
No, we don't do do-overs here. We ride that train wreck over the bridge,
Okay.
and we just keep going.
They say ride the top of the wave and then let it crash us into the rocks.
I think we've already drowned.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
It's just a bloated corpse floating. Okay.
Cool. Take us
Kelly?
away, Mo.
All right. We're going to get into what we did with guns. This week, we'll start with Kyle.
Okay. Well, Thursday last week had a club meeting for the Cavern City Action Shooters, so the local action shooting league here, and it was my first meeting, and yeah, it was good. Meet some people. I had met the organizer before, and yeah, they were basically just going over the match last weekend, which I did miss because I had ended up going on our ATV trip and checked out some caves and whatnot. So it was a good day still. But yeah, they were talking about the entire year matches is already set, and actually got my first 3-gun match I'm going to put on, which is going to be a 2/3-gun match, and it'll be November 18th.
Nice.
And it's actually going to end up being a charity match. We're going to go to the local chapter of Veterans of Foreign Wars and let them pick a charity for proceeds to go to.
Very nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. We're also going to be doing a steel match in July. Yeah, 5th Saturday in July. And that is going to go to a local charity, another serving veterans, but I guess they build houses for veterans' families and whatnot. So it seems like it's a good club. They like doing the charity stuff. And I've offered my help, of course, and was promptly told that I would probably regret it and they'd probably overuse it. So I just told them it'd just be more of the same. But
Yeah, for sure.
I did actually start talking to him because we were talking before I actually made the move about a podcaster charity match down here. And sounds like either we could get the city to approve it, especially if we'd host it during the middle of the week. It shouldn't be a problem getting the bays to host it. Or we could even go into Midland, which is about 2.5 hours away, but is where people would fly into. And I guess there's a gentleman out there, private land, built himself a 14-bay range and puts on matches from January through May and then doesn't do anything the rest of the year.
Wow.
So there's a couple options there if we want to do a podcaster's charity match down here.
A Texas Canadian podcasters charity match. Maybe get some of the American podcasters out to that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I just remember we were talking about that, so I figured I'd just see the potential of something like that.
Cool.
And lastly, I got my wedges in from Tier 1 Concealment for my appendix holster.
Nice.
So I just bought just the sizing pack. So they're actually quite labeled, and you can see from small to extra large the size difference.
Wow.
Yeah. And I ended up trying them out and went with the large one. And even with this shirt, which is one of my tighter shirts, it actually seems to work pretty good.
Yeah.
I think.
For viewers who aren't familiar, Kyle's in the U.S. He's a Canadian that has moved down to the U.S., and that's why he has a handgun in his pants.
Yeah. So I went with the large, and so what that does normally it'd be do it this way. Be sitting on your belt, and my biggest problem is your mag well ends up sticking out. So with that wedge, it ends up tilting it and puts the grip of your gun back into your stomach. I've done some dry fire with it. Does not affect the drawing whatsoever, and just helps for better concealment. So I think it was a good purchase. The sizing kit was like $17 US to find the right one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you still have others that if you have another holster that's made just slightly different, you can throw them on there. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think that's going to really help my conceal carry game and make me feel a little more comfortable, because I did conceal carry all day on Saturday when I was out on the ATV trip, because I wanted to, get used to conceal carry, get it to feel natural and comfortable. And by the end of the day, especially actually first thing in the morning, I realized I should have just open carried, because there was people open carrying, and about halfway through the day, that's why they're open carrying, because riding around in side by side all day concealed. Yeah, I was happy to take the holster off at the end of the day.
I bet.
But that's pretty much it for me. Like I said, I missed the USPSA match this past weekend, but then next weekend I have a steel challenge here in town, and we'll see Saturday, I guess, is Roswell again, so I might be able to make it up to Roswell on Saturday.
Nice.
Cool.
So Kelly, is your mic working now?
I wonder, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while it's working, why don't you tell us what you did in guns?
I'm another one of your hosts, Kelly, and this is...
I'm Gallon. I came on the show. The government hacked our mic, shut me down. I'm being censored.
You're being oppressed. Help, I'm being oppressed.
I'm a victim.
So we're now currently crowded around my phone because my laptop's not working at all.
We're cozy, not crowded.
Overly cozy. But yeah. So Gallon, what did you do this week in guns?
Nothing. I've been driving across Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's here in Kingston with me. What have I done with guns this week? Not much. I didn't get to the range this past weekend.
I thought about guns.
It was lovely though. This past week, really 26 degrees. But yeah, not much. Not much. I didn't do anything with guns this week other than just get some stuff ready for Maple Seed. Sent some stuff out to some people.
Gave me a scope.
Gave you some scopes.
That's something you did in guns. You gave me a scope.
That is correct. Had a meeting about She Shoots, and we're planning the rest of the year for that. And that's about it. So, yeah.
Cool.
So, Mo, what about you?
I went to my first Northern Rimfire Series match in Palmerston, Ontario. There was 5 of us. It was a road trip. So myself, Gabriel, Greg, Will, and Brad, we drove down on Friday afternoon. We ended up staying over. We stayed overnight. It was a lot of fun overall. On Friday night, we got our course of fire, and it was pretty funny because it was almost 10 o'clock at night, and everybody got their dope cards out and started writing out all the different stages and stuff. On Saturday of the match, it was like a beautiful day, like a summer day. I think it was like 28 degrees out there. And it was 10 stages, and this ended up being my first official match because I had mentioned I had tried to do two ORPS matches, but
Mhm.
I was getting the light strikes. So, and of course, with it being such a warm day, there was like the gun ran flawlessly. I didn't run flawlessly, but the gun did. So my takeaways, I was really struggling with like finding the targets. And one of the guys from the squad gave me a good pointer, which I started doing towards the end, like where you kind of you line yourself up when you're getting ready to shoot to kind of line up to that first target, and then obviously when you get the engage command, you like uh, go on the prop, and you're again lining yourself up for that first target and kind of keeping a reference of that, and then obviously the targets, either to the left or right. And so that's something I got better at towards the end, but I did struggle leading up to that. And also getting comfortable in the lower positions. That's where I've been practicing at it, but that's where I struggled. Like, when I had to be like lower to the ground, not prone, but just like on a, so that's where and what else?
Hey, but you've been getting better at those positional shootings.
Yeah. And the thing is too, how do I knew when I would hit. I always knew when I would hear impact because I had a good hold, and I felt confident in it. And then there was other shots where I knew when I pulled the trigger that it was like a prayer that I would actually hit it. But there was the longest shot of the match, I think, was 306 yards, and I actually hit that target. So I was thrilled. I was thrilled about that. Um, I ended up with doing 28% like hit rate, which is terrible, of course, but I didn't actually complete and of the 10 stages because an NRS match is a minute 45 versus CRPS matches, which are 2 minutes. And I ended up timing out on every stage. So I think there was only one where I ended up getting off 8 shots of the required 10. So, and that was and that ended up being the last stage. Oh, Brad was with us. He wasn't in our squad, but he went down with us. Great guy. And then another positive was Gabriel that was with us. He ended up finishing third overall, and it was out
Oh
of
wow.
86 shooters. So it was a big match. Like I guess they called it the biggest rimfire match in Canada in terms of attendance. So I
That's
was,
awesome.
yeah, he did really good. He's I've seen him shoot. This was I think the third time, and he's gotten better. He's gotten better every time. He puts a lot of effort into it, right? And
He's a really good shooter.
yeah, he's a really good shooter, and he's doing with his CZ. He doesn't even have like a Voodoo or Remix or a Deuce or one of the the higher end guns. But the match itself was great. It ran like really smooth. It was like so much fun. Our squad was awesome. Um, just a great group of people. Another thing that I got to try out, I have a new toy. So I got the Apex Summit Pros. So this is the 12 by 50
Oh,
binos,
nice.
and they also come with the reticle. So
Okay.
Mill?
can't really.
It must be
Yeah,
mill.
yeah, it's a Milra. And so I was using them to obviously spot. I ended up spotting a lot, which was great. I got a lot of experience with that. So and I got to try out the new binos, of course. And then like with the reticle, like I'm still not at the point where it'll be a benefit to me to see what everybody's doing. But Gabriel was saying that he when he was, because he has a pair as well, and he felt that he was getting some good information on what other people were doing just based on using the reticle too, right? Um, and that was it for the match. I'm looking forward to the next one. This weekend I've got it's like a double header because I got this CRPS Rimfire Academy in Avonmore on the Saturday, and then the match. Then there's the actual CRPS match on the Sunday, so that'll be fun. So I'll be in school on the Saturday, and then I'll get to actually put it to practice on the Sunday, and it's pretty close to it. It's like less than an hour drive from where I am. And the match director for that match is Travis, and he'll be on next week because we can do a nice little recap about it. What else? I got my Cornwall membership card, and I applied for my ATT this morning, so I could actually take my restricteds there like regular and not have to get an ATT every time I cross into Ontario. And they already sent it back to me, so that was great. So now I have that, and it's good, I guess, till end of November when my 1 year expires. And think that's it for me. How about you, Adriel?
Over the weekend, I did the Chaz Ladies Day. That was on Thursday. Beautiful weather. Oh, gorgeous weather. Lots of ladies. I think we had, I don't know, 100 ladies out there. I was working the shotgun stage. And normally I don't do that. Normally I work rimfire like Maple Seed, or I work 3-gun. This is the first time I worked shotgun. And it was interesting because I've done quite a few ladies' days and families' days, and I would say one of the things that you learn really very quickly, especially when it's very busy, is how to rapidly fit a firearm to someone and get them to adjust to that firearm so they're holding it properly because they haven't held it properly before, right? So you get very comfortable with telling people, okay, now I need you to do this. Now put your cheek there. Now look down here. Now you want to see this, not that. And yeah, you're looking good. Fire. And getting them to go. I haven't done it with shotgun. I've done it with rimfire a lot. With shotgun, there were a couple of new things that I had to look for in terms of stance, in terms of telling them how to look down the shotgun. So, although it wasn't like my first choice of like stage to do, I was happy that I was put on that stage because I got to learn like a brand new set of things to look for fitting someone to a shotgun very quickly. I saw the same stuff I see in 3-gun. They fire a couple times and then their cheek starts getting up and up on the comb and they start missing high because their face is getting higher on the comb of the shotgun. So that wasn't new, but the describing the sighting on a shotgun was how, like, get your head down low. You want to see it flat on that rib. Yeah, there's a bead or something over there. Don't worry about it. As long as you get close enough, you're good enough. Saw some people like over aiming, just like really carefully getting, and the target's like 10 meters away, and they're just like very carefully. I'm like, as long as it's close enough, you'll hit it. So, so that was really great. I worked the stage with a couple of listeners and viewers, which was fantastic as well. And then I had a 3-gun match I was going to go to this weekend, but I've got a funeral, so I don't think I'm going to be able to make it unless I really slam some things together and do some ridiculous stuff, which I probably shouldn't. One thing I took, and actually I was talking to some of the people at the Ladies' Day about this, because I had talked, one of the people there was wanting to get into 3-gun, had his AR kitted out for it, the pistol, the shotgun, good to go, and then the ARs got banned. And he's just never had an inkling to do it since. So I think like registration for 3-gun matches has been slower this year. And I think that it's because a lot of the people who had those ARs before COVID and before the OIC that banned the ARs, they wanted to use them. They wanted to use them for 3-gun. They wanted to like get out and try them. And now that they can't, they're not buying another rifle. They're just kind of like throwing in the towel. So I think we're seeing some of that. And then I've got some more Maple Seed dates that I've just set or just confirmed for Southern Alberta. They're not going to show up on the website or anything like that anytime soon, but I hear you Southern Alberta people telling me that we need more events down there. So we've got 3 more coming. That should be
nice.
A little bit better for the people down there. So
actually, I have a question on that, Adriel. Did you were you able to get a hold of anybody in Grand Prairie?
No.
Okay, we'll talk after the show.
Probably should. I had one of our IITs ask about it, but no, I hadn't picked out that date yet. It's looking like a busy season for me. I got a lot of driving to do. Not this weekend, but the weekend after is my first for the season. And it's going to be a doubleheader. They're all going to be double headers. Anytime I can, because if I'm going to take a weekend off and deal with the wife. I'm gonna pack them in Saturday, Sunday, both at the same time. Might as well. If I got to wreck a weekend, I'm wrecking it good. I'm gonna just be gone the whole time, not just one of the days. Right? Is that how this works?
Yeah,
Full
clothes
board.
on the
Yep.
lawn and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this how I stay married? I hope it is. It's I max out 2 weekends a month, but those weekends are like both days. Both days are maple seeds.
Nice.
Yeah, okay.
So that's
that works.
My goal will be to do that all through the summer, basically from now until October, give or take. So still got some dates open for that. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Okay. I think that's everybody, right?
Hmm.
Okay. For upcoming events, as Kelly and Angel mentioned, lots of maple seeds across Canada, and you can check that out at mapleseedrifleman.com. So definitely check out the schedule and see where you can get out and do one. If you want to find a three-gun match, threegun.ca. There's the Battle of Alberta now open for registration. It's a 2-day match, June 10th and 11th. There's this Summer Brutality now open also. It's a 1 day. That's July 1st in Quesnel, BC. And then
Sherwood Park. Yeah, Sherwood Park
Yeah.
Thursday night fun nights start this Thursday with Rimfire race guns. So if you're a member over there, go to that. I might make it. I don't know. It depends how crazy I feel with packing guns up and going and doing stuff and then getting swamped the next day.
Okay. And the Mighty Peace River 3-gun is starting their season this weekend, April 22nd in Peace River. Setup is 8 a.m., safety brief at 9:30, costs $40 and includes lunch. And then
bargain.
Yeah. And then
Bring rubber boots.
Bring your rubber boots, yeah. No mosquito spray needed yet, but soon.
Soon. As I mentioned, the CRPS events this weekend in Avonmore, there's for the Academy, there's actually, when I looked earlier, there was one spot left if anybody's still interested and wants to get out and try it. And then the next day, there's a few spots left too. So, and then those are both on Practice Score. You can find them. And then EOSC, Eastern Ontario, has their Summer Blast IPSC Level 3 match. There's still spots available for the Thursday on the July 27th, and you can find that on Practice Score as well. And then in the news, we have NS gun dealer fined for importing overcapacity magazines.
This is just kind of a wrap up to the Sean Hansen case that we had talked about 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
There were some magazines that he had imported from Israel. I think these were IMI or IWI magazines that were uncapped that I assume he was going to pin later, and no jail time, but a fine.
A fine, okay. Yeah. That's not terrible, I guess. And then next story, BCL Foxbat, still not in anyone's hands. October sales, 3 to 4 month timeline given. Okay.
This was that aluminum frame Glock compliant handgun that BCL was going to make. No one's gotten any of them yet. Should have got them January. 3 to 4 month timeline. Sold in October. Still not out.
Okay. The Canadian Firearms Program call center is closed, but the web services are still up and running, I believe.
Web services don't have there's no union for the website. So it's only those lazy, good for nothing federal workers that are on.
The public unions, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Anybody who's working there is on the picket line, so hopefully it'll end soon.
And then the last one, didn't we cover this SIG 3 the P?
No, this is a new one.
Not this one.
Oh, this is a new one.
Brand new.
Oh wow. Okay.
The SIG P320s have no over insertion protection other than the base pad. So regular length mag, no problem. Ram it in there, no big deal. Long boy mags, like extended mags, you will bend the ejector. You will slam that shit right in there, and that little finger ejector is the only thing stopping that magazine from coming up. So you'll end up bending it if you really rock a long boy mag in there.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean,
Potentially, yeah.
for most shooters, probably not, because you're not going to be putting long boy mags in your SIG P320. But if you do,
I gotta ask, how hard are you inserting your mag if you're?
Well,
I slam the shit out of mine. Like I put my mags in like they owe me money, because you only have to have, how many times do you have to drop a magazine at a match where you go click and the mag falls out? Like, isn't that it's like getting pantsed?
It's usually because I squeezed my oversized mag release.
Yeah, there's that.
Oh, that's another thing. I hammer my mags in. I beat the crap out of them. So if I had that, I would probably bend it.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you've been following the CCFR court case, they put a lot of work and effort into it, and they still need help. So obviously, please keep donating to them.
Yeah.
And then speaking of that, the CDTSA Calgary District Target Shooters made a huge donation, $100,000, which was incredible. And and if you do want to help out, you can by sending an EMT to finance@firearmsrights.ca. And then in new gun stuff, brought to you by Bullseye North. Need a new boomstick? Bullseye North is Canada's shooting superstar and a proud supporter of the CCFR, with a wide selection of guns and top trending gear for any shooter. Free shipping over $200. Some exclusions apply, like ammo. Subscribe to their weekly newsletter to get first access to the hottest deals.
And the hottest deal that we've got right now that we're featuring is they've got 25% off Camelback and White Rock coolers tonight only. Ends at midnight. So if you're looking at getting one of those, head on over there. I bet you they sold out of these. I put these throughout the week, and throughout the week, these are such good deals that they frequently sell out of the things that I was trying to feature. So those aren't for sale anymore. Let's see. Prophet River has some lever.
Yeah,
Both.
Yeah.
Leve. They have some Leve actions for sale. Everything from 30-30, 45-70, 45-90, 45 Colts, and 308, and 22 LR, of course. They've got a whole bunch of lever guns. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, head on over to Prophet River. Shooting Edge has some Blem Sterling Arms R18 Mark IIs, and these are right around 2,500. They include a Trigger Tech trigger in them. If you want to spend a little bit more, they've got one that has a Zhukov stock in it for 2,700. I've actually heard pretty good things for reliability on these things. In that CGN thread that this feature was in, they were saying they've only had one gas system breakage with this thing. No charging handles breaking off, no gas pistons snapping.
Gas system breakage. What was that?
Oh, well, WKs break gas pistons all the time.
Oh, no, they have the piston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So whereas these guys aren't having that problem, I believe they went with like a non-standard AR forend, and therefore they have more height, and therefore they put in the proper like pistons so that it's not going to snap all the time for them. So if only it wasn't $2,500. It's just a little bit.
But for $2,500, you would hope that you wouldn't have any issues with it.
Yeah, you would hope.
Yes,
you would hope.
Yeah.
Next thing I've got on here. Well, speaking of other firearms that actually don't break things, Marstar's they're set up to import stuff from HB Industries. These guys make things for the CZ Bren 2. So if you're looking for longer handguards, aftermarket, fancier handguards, they're going to be set up to bring them in. They don't have pricing or anything like that because they're just set up to import them right now. But they give access to the gas port, so they've got the little like panel cut out for them, and a lot of these Bren 2s that we're going to have in Canada here are going to be the 11-inch models that have very short forends, so they're going to look real goofy if you put a long barrel on there and make it non-restricted. So if you want it to not look goofy, you might want to take a look at one of those forends that Marstar is going to be bringing in. The next one is S&J Hardware. They're doing another run on their AR500 body armor. So this is a steel plate AR500. With this one, they've got a resin-impregnated Kevlar spall coating on the front, just to keep the spall down. So those are over on snjhardware.com, and I believe they're $490 per set for those. This one was new for me. I didn't know that they made it, but Solely Canadian, they have this sales page on CGN where they put like their factory seconds, and I thought I saw, they do cheek risers. Look at this thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they do like a different style cheek. It looks like it's adjustable. It's not like finger knob adjustable or anything like that, but once you set it and forget it kind of a thing, it looks like it would be okay. So that's kind of neat. The next one I have here is if you have a Laugo Alien, Tactical Imports got some more mags in. The ETA, they got them in. Long story short, yes, they got them in. There they are. They're $100 a pop, but
$100.
You bought an Alien. You know what you got yourself into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a $5,000 pistol, so the mags are going to be expensive.
Yeah. They don't look like anything special either. They got a couple of like Allen bolts in there. It's so weird. Let's see. This one was kind of interesting. Okay, so if you've got a CZ P10 and you're looking to class it up a little bit, North Silva is saying that FOC and Rangeview have aluminum triggers for it in various colors.
Ooh.
So if your P10 is looking a little bit plain and you want something that's maybe not as mushy as the original trigger, they have
blue and red. Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. They do look interesting, and that shouldn't be too expensive. The next one I wanted to have here is just I try to put stuff that I wouldn't necessarily look at, but is interesting anyways. Calgary Shooting Center has the Bighorn Armory Model 90 fancy walnut rifle. It's a lever action rifle in 460 Smith & Wesson.
Ooh.
It's very fancy looking. It's got a fire optic stock. It's got, front sight. It's got a really long section of pick rail for a lever action. And it's very fancy. Case hardened, beautiful stock on it. $71.55.
Damn.
If you want something that's a little bit less than that, G4C has the Troy Industries PAR 223 with a 16-inch barrel for $14.90. So it's a pump action 223. And I have heard like the reliability is okay on them. They're kind of ready to go out of the box, and $14.90 is okay for something like that.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I'd actually be interested in trying something like that out
for
not
like a
full time, just to play around with and try it out.
Yeah.
They're not great.
They're not great. I didn't get very good accuracy out of mine.
For prone shooting.
Yeah.
They're terrible. You gotta like roll up and pump the gun and lay back down. It was horrible. But for standing, any other position, they're all right. They were reliable, the ones I've shot.
You probably wouldn't want to use one at Maple Seed.
No, you would.
The pump action might hinder that.
Yeah, exactly. Tenda's got all the new models of Night Force. So if you're looking at the NX8 or the new Attacker models, they've got those on their website. Tika, I was looking at a lot of gun stuff, so I've got a lot of gun stuff to review this week. Calgary Shooting Center has the Tika T3 Western Superlight 2023 rifle. This is a super light Tika. It's on for $16.50. They've got it in a variety of cartridges, and it's pretty lightweight. And then if you're in the Winnipeg area, Fast Toys has Ginix, I don't know. They're cheap primers. They're from Serbia or Croatia or somewhere where they like to fight each other, and their primers are cheap. They're like $100 per 1,000, give or take, depending on how many you order. Is my description too accurate?
Political comment.
And then one thing, so someone on the Discord was Scrad thing was just mentioning this. Wasn't aware that this was a thing. Case, like, I don't really like Walker Razors in terms of like a headset. I think they put too much pressure and the audio quality is kind of crap. But I like this idea. They've got a clip-on walkie-talkie that attaches to the ear cup. So you turn your headset into walkie-talkie. I like this idea a lot. Imagine if your ROs had like these things clipped on. You're like, Squad 4 is advancing from this stage to that stage. Like, the comms would be so much easier than just trying to use a walkie-talkie, right?
Yeah,
I like it.
All in one. It just clips on the side. Like, I have a Baofeng that I clip to my belt, and I run plugged into my headset when we're running like a complicated match. But yeah, this is real interesting.
Peltors, because the Razor Walkers are very uncomfortable to wear all day, but the Peltors are nice.
Yeah, the Peltor Tac Sports. Well, not only are they comfortable, the audio quality is just it's so much. You can't even believe it. If you have both of them and you put them on next to each other, you would see that the Walker Razors, just the audio quality is just garbage compared to the Peltors.
I think it's actually a really great idea, and it's a good addition, especially if you are ROing. But just the walkers are very uncomfortable to wear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks again to Tracy for coming on to tell us all about what's going on in the court challenge, and for being a Twitter star apparently now. So we'll get into listener feedback. I'll take the first email. It says, guys, good discussion, but for fudge's sake, some of us are using earbuds and those things are fudging loud over the recording. Please at least warn people before letting loud beeps go. Carson.
Yeah, at our last show, we had the timers going off in the mics.
Yeah.
It was loud.
It's the yellow one. It's
we didn't
horrible.
even have the yellow one.
No.
Nope. We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah, the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had all sorts.
Yeah.
They were loud.
Yep.
They were loud.
Stand by. That should have been our warning.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another letter. I can do this one too. Good evening, ladies and gents. First, I'm sorry that you have to go through quite a few comments on YouTube. Maybe I'm just a bit too talkative. A quick report from Tony with his first experience at a steel challenge. On Wednesday, it was all fun and good until we started to shoot. The Sunday decided to disappear and tiny snowballs started falling from the sky. Facing inclement weather, I landed solidly in the C class, which isn't terrible for a beginner, I guess. On Sunday, I returned for a full day with 8 stages. Unlike the weather, I was unable to improve much, nearing but never achieving a B class score. The results were a little disappointing to me, but I did have fun, and I have to realize that PCCO is a very fast division overall. On the other hand, my Kel-Tec Sub 2000 has performed very well with 0 malfunctions. It is not an ideal race gun, though, as its lighter weight contributed to a more jumpy recoil. I've been shooting this bulk Gecko 9mm from the Calgary Shooting Center. It was on sale for $380 per 1,000. That is good. 500 rounds in, it has worked for me flawlessly. On the other hand, I've witnessed a failure on a Lockhart Raven 9 owned but not by Taylor. While engaging the targets, the mag release on the right side flew away with the spring and the magazine dropped and it was no longer retained. It took us a good minute to find the mag release paddle again under the swamp-like Alberta spring conditions. Seems that the mechanism design does not have the most positive retention, allegedly. Lastly, a question to the Slamfire hosts. I've heard that Steel Challenge is not quite a widespread popular sport in Canada. Is that right? Thanks for the show. Best regards, Tony from Calgary.
I'm aware of it being shot out here. like Edmonton area, they have a set at Sherwood Park, and they do it at BTSA, which is probably where Tony was shooting there. And I believe they've got more than a couple other clubs down south that shoot it.
I know that Cornwall, the new range that I just joined, is going to be doing a monthly match, so that's going to be something going forward. Eastern Ontario does quite a few steel challenges too. So in this area, there's Eastern Ontario-ish area there are.
And there's
There's
Go
a
ahead,
couple on in New Brunswick every year. The big one being the Roddy DeGroot shoot, but a few other clubs have their own steel matches as well.
there's a difference between steel challenge and steel matches, though.
Oh, okay.
Steel Challenge, I thought that's the one that most people run, because it's like you buy the set, you put the targets where they belong, and you run it. There's no thinking. Like I love it. If you want to run a quick match and shoot some steel with your pistol, beautiful.
Yeah, out west, I don't hear a lot of clubs doing like steel challenge. They'll throw on like a steel match, but an actual steel challenge where you'll run into Smoke and Hope or Outer Limits or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, is Sherwood Park sanctioning their steel challenge, or are they just taking the stages and just shooting them?
No, they just have the targets, I believe. So I don't think they've had a well, maybe they haven't. I just haven't noticed. Bet you those Thursday night fun shoots they do them.
Okay.
Someone's screaming at the radio. They know the answer.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we have anything from the YouTube comments? Anything on the Gersan, Kyle?
Actually, we do have comments, and no, nothing from the Gersan.
Ooh.
And in response to Tony's email, don't worry about all the comments. Love them. And all the comments tonight are from Tony on last week's episode 502. So start off, Tony says, we've lost Kyle to concealed carry, the ability to defend himself and his family, and standard capacity magazines. Hey Kyle, my thought is to train to take cover first and draw from kneeling due to the unique carry situation. And I do agree. I know when we were doing defensive pistol before, while we were drawing, it was get off the X or move to cover or something. Yeah, good thought, and definitely a different thing to train for as well. He goes on, question for Maple Seed: why Eventbrite, not practice score? How much
institutional inertia, I believe, is the saying. It does some stuff that that's really nice that practice score doesn't, in terms of like an event. Whether we need those or not, I'm not sure. I haven't tried it. I've used practice score for like straight out events, but I haven't treated them like I do with Maple Seed. I don't know.
Goes on to ask how much processing fees are lost to Eventbrite versus practice score.
No idea.
I don't know what the processing fees are for practice score. Something that we can explore. People have to have you have to log in, you have to create a profile on practice score.
It's easier.
That's a good thing though, because like getting people to get a profile and practice score means that they're set up for competition shooting afterwards. They might find some events near them after getting that login going.
It's easier.
Stop it.
Practice score for all.
Yeah, there are some. I've used both of them. Yeah. There's some real positives to practice score, and there's positives to Eventbrite.
Yeah, it's easier.
Stop it.
Okay. Tony also says it's really unfortunate that Canadians can't have local milsurps after the Enfields. I think the U.S. did a great job with that and built it into their culture, a part of Appleseed as well.
Yeah, it is.
1903, 1917, M1 Garand, M1 Carbine, 1911, M1A. So, and then he goes on my Mossberg MVP 556, the magazine is also not that secure, but never had a feeding issue that I can recall, not even during Maple Seed. I would say go up against
rare
a
Mossberg
barrier.
win.
yeah, that too. Adriel, I think a rebranding for your main channel can be beneficial. Maybe call yourself the Maple Hunter, the Maple Shooter, since I do see more firearm content from you compared to hunting only content.
It's true.
And then we had a question in the chat about this earlier tonight. I keep hearing Adriel referring to a Discord channel. Do we have one for Slamfire? And no, we don't. The Discord channel that we keep mentioning is Canadian Firearms Enthusiasts.
Yeah.
So maybe we need one.
It's a thought. Yeah, maybe we look at creating one.
Okay, everybody, raise your hands. Who's not it?
Kyle, have you set up a Discord server before?
I have one for Lunatic Tactical, which is like stagnant. So
I've set one up, but I'm not very good at it. So maybe you and I can figure out how to make that happen.
I think you and I can work together on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I have?
Discord's cool. What's that? You want to do it, Kelly?
I think I heard Kelly volunteer there before she cut out.
Yeah, I definitely heard a yes.
That is a no. I was just gonna do I contribute to it because no, I will not say what I was going to say.
Say it.
I was Discord.
Discord.
I just do.
Kelly's who's going to be our Discord mod? I'm in the basement already, so I've got that part covered.
You got the Cheetos beside you?
Bottles of homemade wine, does that count?
Yes.
Sure, that counts. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. If you go to our website, slamfireradio.com, you'll find a Cabela's link. If you make a purchase through the link, you'll be supporting the show, and we really appreciate that. And then we will like or dislike your purchases on the air.
I got the one from March.
Okay, go for it.
It's simple. Someone bought 4 Butler Creek flip up caps
Why?
for the scope
Or
to flip up.
What?
Were they sets or individual caps?
I was just going to say that. It was a 4-set.
Oh, now you're gonna make me go look at it. No, I don't know. I can't remember.
No, that's okay.
for 2 scopes.
Butler Creek stuff.
They sell them by the set. So if they're buying 4 of them, it would just
4 then.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Someone realized they should finally start protecting their scopes? Or they just bought a bunch of scopes that they need to protect?
I don't put caps on nothing. They're all raw dogging existence right now.
Once in a while I will, but yeah.
No, $1,200 scope up there, raw dogging. No caps on.
Yeah. If they break, they break. If you'd like to support us, you can do so through Patreon and Player.
It's no longer Utreon. They have rebranded to Player.
Player, yeah.
Player. Okay, so you can find us through there and support the show if you'd like. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at slamfireradio@gmail.com, and we'll read your letter on air. And anyone have a shout out this evening?
Adriel?
Yeah, I've got a suggestion. The guys at 9 Hole Reviews did one on the M1 Garand on practical accuracy. So the thing that they do is they shoot from, I think it's 150 to 6 something. It's good. It's a good watch. Go check it out.
Cool. I want to give a shout out to this guy over here. Jason, driving all night, getting here to Kingston.
I had to be on the show. It's like, it's all I.
But you left the hot tub at home?
Yeah, the hot tub's back at home. I'm in Kingston tonight.
Yeah.
I just got a second hot tub. I'm very excited to try it out. It's for a cabin I'm building, but maybe I can do another show from the new one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So
naked.
But I also to Tracy for coming on and talking about the CCFR and doing it as well. We just contacted her a few days ago and she said, sure, no problem. And then hanging in while we had our technical issues here. So, yeah.
Cool. Good. Kyle?
Just shout out all the legal teams that are in court fighting to protect everything that everyone wants to go out and use and not have just sit there and collect dusk or
And Michael Loberg is right. We have the best lawyers around. So
Yep.
Do I get a shout out?
yeah, you're here.
Yeah, go for it.
Trevor. He's taking me out to eat tomorrow night. He said I can drink all I want and sleep in the big bed at his house. So shit.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. He's a very generous guy.
What am I, liver?
I came in. I like to eat chippies when I go to bed, and I like grilled cheese. So we went for supper, and she said she's going to pay me back for it. And then she went over to Shoppers and got special bread for me so I can have grilled cheese because she only eats like gluten-free bread, and I need a white bread. So she's going to grilled cheese after this show, and then I got chippies to eat later. Chippies! I love chips. It's my favorite thing after this show. It's my second favorite.
And my shout out is to the guys on the road trip. We had a blast, lots of laughs. Most of the stuff I can't repeat on this family friendly program, but it was great. So that's it. Look forward to more trips. Check us out on Gunners of Canada. Like us on Facebook. Watch us on YouTube and Player. Join the CCFR and see you next week. Good night.
Night, guys.
See you next week.
Later, everyone.
See you guys.